This young girl, let's call her Ji-woo, is on the autism spectrum, but she also possesses some seriously mind-blowing abilities that most of us can only dream of. Imagine this. She can flip through a textbook thousands of pages long and instantly remember everything. It's like her brain is a super-powered scanner, and it doesn't stop there. She can glance at a guy's tie and tell you exactly how many dots are on it. For example, 267. Sir, what? How is that even possible? But here's where it gets even crazier. Her hearing is off the charts. She can pick up the faintest sounds from dozens of yards away. It's like she has built-in super-sensitive microphones in her ears. Now, with all these amazing gifts, there's a catch. Because Ji-woo is on the autism spectrum, she struggles with emotions. Understanding the subtle nuances of happiness, sadness, and anger is a real challenge for her. She has to rely on tiny clues, like the way someone's mouth curves or the crinkles around their eyes, to try and figure out what they're feeling. This is where things get really interesting. Our girl ends up in court, and a slick lawyer throws her a curveball. He shows her a picture and asks her to identify the emotion. She's smiling, Ji-woo says confidently. The lawyer presses her. How do you know? Because her eyes are crinkling at the corners and her mouth is turned up, she explains. But then the lawyer pulls out a truly twisted image, a face that's a jumble of conflicting emotions. Ji-woo freezes. This is something she just can't decipher. And here's the heartbreaking part. She doesn't even want to be there. She's only involved because she witnessed something terrible. Picture this. A couple of weeks earlier, Ji-woo is chilling in her room, playing games on her tablet. Suddenly, she hears a loud noise coming from outside her window. Being curious, she peeks outside. What she sees sends chills down her spine. Across the street, in the building opposite hers, a man is being attacked. He's struggling, and a plastic bag is pulled tight over his head. And standing behind him is his maid. For Ji-woo, who's already navigating the world with autism, witnessing this is absolutely terrifying. The sounds of the struggle, amplified by her incredible hearing, overwhelm her. She's so distressed that she starts hitting her head. Thankfully, her parents rush in and comfort her, slowly calming her down. The next morning, before dawn even breaks, the police are called. The old man is dead, and the maid is arrested. Fast forward a few days and we're in a law office in Seoul. A hotshot lawyer named Mr. Han is prepping his client for the trial. Now, this guy Soon-ho, our main man here, is in the room. He overhears their conversation and can't help but jump in. He knows he could craft a far more compelling argument. Soon-ho's got some serious legal skills. Mr. Han is impressed. He sees potential in Soon-ho and decides to give him the maid's case. He explains that there's a 15-year-old autistic witness. Plus, this is a high-profile case, the kind that gets media attention. If Soon-ho can win, it'll be a huge boost for his career. The law firm's reputation will skyrocket, and Soon-ho himself will be on the fast track to promotions, fancy suits, and all the good stuff. The next morning, he heads to the prison to interview the maid. And that's where he finds his lifeline. The maid, whose name is Miran, spills the whole story. She says that she heard noises coming from her employer's room that night. Curious, she went to check on him, and she saw him trying to suffocate himself with a plastic bag. She panicked and tried to help, but he pushed her away. During the struggle, they knocked over a coat rack and broke a window. Apparently, Mr. Kim, in his desperation to end his life, found some kind of hidden strength. He was actively fighting back against the maid, Miran, preventing her from intervening. All she could think to do was run out to the living room, grab a pair of scissors, and try to puncture the plastic bag. But when she rushed back to the room, she found Mr. Kim on the floor, taking his last breath. During questioning, when asked if Mr. Kim had any tendencies, Miran suddenly remembered something. 2 years earlier, on the anniversary of his wife's death, he had mentioned wanting to join her. And apparently the neighbors could vouch for this. Miran then got really emotional, saying she has no children of her own. She has worked hard and tirelessly serving the family for 10 long years. Their relationship was almost like family, and she had absolutely no motive to kill him. Even though Miran didn't seem to be lying, Soon-ho still had some doubts. He wanted to verify her story, so he went out and started investigating. He quickly found a neighbor who confirmed that Mr. Kim had indeed talked about self-destruction, and that almost everyone in the town knew that Miran considered him like a father. The neighbor was willing to testify in court that Miran could never have been the murderer. This gave Soon-ho a huge confidence boost. He was convinced that this was just a self-destruction that someone had maliciously misinterpreted. Next, Soon-ho visited Mr. Kim's son, Man-ho, who runs an accounting firm. Man-ho was extremely busy but wanted Soon-ho to quickly resolve the case, even though he was devastated by his father's death. Also, he pointed out the fact that the room where Mr. Kim died was dozens of meters away from Ji-woo's house and that she was an autistic girl. For these reasons, Soon-ho was increasingly convinced that Ji-woo was mistaken about a self-destruction as a murder. The preliminary trial date arrived quickly. Soon-ho started by presenting the judge with Mr. Kim's previous cardiovascular medical history and the evidence that sleeping pills were found in his system. Then, he called the forensic doctor who performed the autopsy to the stand. The forensic doctor confidently explained that because the deceased was 80 years old, if a plastic bag was put over his head, he would suffocate in a maximum of 4 minutes. Moreover, the fingerprints on the plastic bag were almost entirely Miran's, suggesting that she had not attempted to tear the bag. Even though the prosecuting forensic doctor made a strong testimony, Soon-ho quickly refuted it. First, he argued that once a person's head is covered with a bag, it immediately causes a rapid oxygen shortage, and the victim would naturally struggle more violently. Therefore, Miran's inability to stop him was normal. To support this claim, Soon-ho introduced a scientific article published by a forensic doctor based on an experiment, which confirmed that people who are drowning and having difficulty breathing immediately exhibit a strong survival instinct. Therefore, this evidence refuted the prosecutor's forensic doctor's opinion. Second, he pointed out that information online shows that quite a few people commit self-destruction using plastic bags. The reason is simple. By adding butane gas to the bag, the person committing self-destruction will experience hallucinations, minimizing pain during the process. And the plastic bag was found to contain butane gas. Moreover, police discovered 2 used gas canisters at the scene of the crime. Most importantly, Mr. Kim had purchased 2 butane gas canisters himself 2 days before the incident. Therefore, based on these conclusions, it was clear that Mr. Kim was not intentionally murdered. Although the prosecuting attorney immediately raised questions, the judge rejected his objections due to Soon-ho's almost perfect reasoning and accepted the evidence presented by Soon-ho. This means that if Ji-woo does not provide convincing evidence in court within 2 weeks, this case could be declared a victory. It looks like Soon-ho thought he had the upper hand, but this case is far from over. It's just getting started. Realizing how crucial Ji-woo's testimony is, Soon-ho decides to try to talk to her, hoping to find some kind of weakness in her statement that he can exploit to strengthen his case. But Ji-woo's mother flatly refuses. She explains that Ji-woo is still traumatized from witnessing the crime, and she doesn't want to further upset her daughter. Left with no other option, Soon-ho seeks out Ji-woo's homeroom teacher to get a better understanding of the girl's personality. To his surprise, he learns that Ji-woo may seem like she has trouble focusing and is often mistaken for a 3-year-old, but she's different from other autistic people. Although Ji-woo lacks emotional intelligence, she possesses extraordinary intelligence. Not only does she instantly remember everything she sees, but her hearing is also much more sensitive than most people's. The teacher believes that Ji-woo's incredible logical reasoning skills will definitely make the judge believe her testimony. These words worry Soon-ho. To win this case, he starts reading books about autism and researching the daily lives of autistic people online. To his surprise, he discovers that the world through the eyes of autistic people is a continuous series of fleeting images. He can only imagine how much torment these people endure every day. Having no other choice to better understand Ji-woo, Soon-ho waits for her outside of school. Knowing that Soon-ho is there because of the case, Ji-woo becomes very uncomfortable, leaving Soon-ho unsure of what to do. Fortunately, Ji-woo's best friend advises him that if he really wants to build a relationship with Ji-woo, he can play some intellectual puzzle games with her. Following her friend's advice, Soon-ho brings a puzzle book the next day. Although Ji-woo is still wary of him, Soon-ho's persistent efforts eventually succeed in making Ji-woo less cautious. Sure enough, Soon-ho's hard work pays off. That evening, Ji-woo calls him to report that she has solved one of the puzzles. Although Ji-woo hangs up immediately after speaking, Soon-ho is overjoyed. This shows that Ji-woo has finally decided to open up. It's only a matter of time before he can talk to her. And while Soon-ho is waiting for that day to come, another good thing happens to him. At a company party, Mr. Han suddenly reveals to Soon-ho that Man-ho, Mr. Kim's son, was actually his old classmate. Mr. Han is currently looking for legal counsel and plans to recommend Soon-ho for this position, but the prerequisite is that Soon-ho must win this case as soon as possible. If the outcome satisfies Man-ho, Soon-ho's future will be even brighter. But at the same time, it should be noted that once they cooperate with the accounting firm, it undoubtedly means that they may have to get their hands dirty. After all, the world always has its gray areas. Thinking about how he's already in his 40s and hasn't accomplished anything worthwhile, and how poverty even makes him lack the courage to boldly pursue the classmate he's had a secret crush on for so long, Soon-ho, in order to completely change his current situation, decides to lose himself without hesitation. He'll follow Mr. Han's arrangements. Mr. Han says with a smile, "Go on. Girls, let him get a little dirty tonight." Soon-ho is stunned. Quickly, under Mr. Han's matchmaking, Soon-ho and the director signed an employment contract, and the two officially became one family. Afterwards, with great enthusiasm, he went to find Ji-woo, because he waited for a long time and didn't see her show up. Soon-ho, determined to find Ji-woo, starts searching around the school, and what he sees is heartbreaking. Ji-woo's best friend is bullying her. It turns out that because she's friends with Ji-woo, the other students are also bullying her. That's why she's taking her anger out on Ji-woo. Thankfully, Soon-ho rushes in and stops her. Ji-woo still wants to follow her friend, but Soon-ho prevents her from doing so. He patiently explains that the friend isn't a good person. This throws Ji-woo into complete confusion. She can't tell who the good people are. The overwhelming emotions cause Ji-woo to faint. And what breaks Soon-ho's heart even more is that even in the hospital bed, Ji-woo is worried that her friend will get punished. Soon after, Ji-woo's mother arrives at the hospital. Remembering everything her daughter has been through, she can't help but burst into tears. She tells Soon-ho that while other kids were saying "dad" at 1 year old, Ji-woo was telling her mom that she needed a diaper change. And at 2 years old, Ji-woo could already read. She thought God was favoring Ji-woo, but it turned out to be a false alarm. But she has never regretted it because she believes that her daughter will definitely overcome the difficulties. After Soon-ho takes the mother and daughter home, the mother, not knowing how to thank him, decides to allow him to talk to her daughter. Soon-ho enters Ji-woo's room and discovers that her dream is to become a lawyer. But before he can ask why, Ji-woo suddenly asks a piercing question. "I think lawyers are good people who help others, so are you a good person?" This question leaves Soon-ho speechless, because he approached Ji-woo step by step with a very clear purpose. Thankfully, Ji-woo's mother breaks the awkward atmosphere and quickly ends the conversation. She tells her daughter to answer the questions truthfully. When Soon-ho starts asking questions, Ji-woo's eyes are still glued to the tablet as she recounts what she saw. Like the helper grabbed the old man's face, and the old man fell. But then she gets distracted and mumbles a line from the TV. Her mother has to quickly explain to Soon-ho that her daughter has a habit of mimicking what she hears. Soon-ho patiently continues to ask, trying to clarify the details of where the helper grabbed the old man's face and whether the action was like attacking. Ji-woo then makes an illustrative gesture but gets caught up in the show again, repeating the familiar line. Seeing this, her mother has to temporarily take the tablet away so that her daughter can focus more on the conversation. Seeing Ji-woo repeating the same line over and over, Soon-ho decides to end the interview there. But just before he is about to leave, he discovers that Ji-woo only uses small expressions on her face to simply judge the different emotions. Ji-woo suddenly asks, "It's hard to read people's minds, isn't it? My friend always smiles at me, but she still bullies me. My mom is always worried, but she loves me very much. You smile a lot too, so will you bully and take advantage of me?" Even though Ji-woo has a sense of her worries, she cannot foresee what will happen on the day of the appeal trial. Ji-woo is extremely sensitive to everything around her. The extreme tension makes her unable to concentrate, and she can't help but feel worried and uneasy. She covers her ears and steps into the courtroom and immediately tells the truth that she saw. That night, the old man struggled to get out, but the helper held his head tightly. Then the helper tripped the old man, causing him to fall to the ground. She is very sure that the helper was attacking because the helper was smiling at the time. But even though Ji-woo felt like she had unloaded her burden when she told everything, Soon-ho only used 3 emotional pictures to destroy the courage that she had painstakingly built up. In the next moment, it's clear that Soon-ho has grasped Ji-woo's weakness. Soon-ho deliberately presents a photo with mixed happy and sad expressions. The prosecutor immediately jumps to his feet, vehemently protesting that this is a meaningless test, an insult to the witness who witnessed the entire incident, not these distorted photos. But Soon-ho is ready for the counterattack. He focuses on the fact that in an emergency situation, even a normal person can misjudge, let alone someone with cognitive impairment like Ji-woo. Soon-ho's words cut deep into the heart of Ji-woo's mother, who is sitting below. Ignoring the protest, Soon-ho continues to emphasize his sharp argument. Your Honor, the witness cannot clearly distinguish. Regardless of whether my client intended to harm or help, please consider that this case can only be based on what she saw, not her interpretation. Although the prosecution continues to object, the judge ultimately decides to accept Soon-ho's argument in the face of a flawless test. With both lawyers having no further questions, the judge ends the second trial. The final verdict will be delivered in 2 weeks. And while Soon-ho is confident in his victory, he notices the angry look in Ji-woo's eyes. Clearly, his offensive and suspicious behavior has left a scar on Ji-woo's heart. Just when Soon-ho thinks he won't be forgiven, at 5 p.m. the next day, Ji-woo calls him right on time. But this time, it's different. After Ji-woo answers the puzzle, she asks Soon-ho a question. Am I really cognitively impaired? Feeling extremely guilty, Soon-ho quickly explains, that's not what I meant at all. Soon-ho plans to apologize to Ji-woo, but Ji-woo's mother flatly refuses. If it weren't for Soon-ho's words in court, Ji-woo wouldn't be in a state of self-doubt. The day of the verdict arrives quickly. After considering the arguments of both lawyers and combining all the evidence and testimony presented, the judge, based on the opinion of the jury, still believes that Miran's crime is not established and can be released immediately in court. But when Soon-ho thought this case was finally over, he inadvertently noticed Miran flashing a meaningful smile. Following her gaze, Man-ho in the front not only doesn't show any sadness, but instead reveals a complacent smile. This immediately makes Soon-ho suspicious. Could there be something hidden in this case? And when he goes to the prison to pick up Miran, his suspicion is confirmed. To find out the truth behind the case, Soon-ho immediately goes to investigate the neighbor. He learns that Miran does have a child, but the child unfortunately suffers from a serious illness and needs a large amount of money for treatment. Soon-ho also learns from a charity that Mr. Kim generously donated to every year and promised to donate all his assets after his death. But what makes them feel regret is that while doing the related paperwork, they received the bad news. Combining the information he has seen and heard, Soon-ho finally understands the whole truth. It turns out that Man-ho colluded with the maid to stage the crime to inherit his father's assets. That's why his boss gave him the case and then introduced him to Man-ho as legal counsel. It was all just a large-scale scam. Realizing that he has been led by the nose for so long, Soon-ho feels like he's nothing more than a clown. Justice in his heart is twisted like that. But before he can calm down, he suddenly receives a phone call reporting that Ji-woo has been hospitalized. It turns out that in the afternoon, after school, Miran, taking advantage of no one paying attention, mocked Ji-woo in Ji-woo's tone. Then she changed her face and questioned Ji-woo. What expression am I making now, you little brat? If you dare to meddle in adults' business again, I'll tear your big mouth to shreds. Realizing that Ji-woo is hurt because of him, Soon-ho feels even more guilty. After leaving the hospital, he plans to numb himself with alcohol, but Ji-woo's question keeps echoing in his head. Are you a good person? Soon-ho is forced to face and reflect. If he chooses to confront the wealthy, he will undoubtedly lose his livelihood. But the ugly moral stain will follow him for the rest of his life. Initially, Soon-ho can't find an answer. It wasn't until he saw a letter his father sent him that he realized he had long forgotten his initial purpose of becoming a lawyer. Soon-ho immediately decides to correct the mistakes he has made. Then he meets with Ji-woo's lawyer, promising to bring the truth to light. He hopes that the lawyer will persuade Ji-woo to testify again. Knowing the lawyer's purpose, Ji-woo's mother refuses without hesitation. She doesn't want her daughter to suffer any more pain. But after the lawyer leaves, Ji-woo asks her mother to let her go to court because she understands that if she can't overcome the difficulties in front of her, she won't be able to realize her dream of becoming a lawyer. Even though she has autism and her opinion may still be rejected by the judge, she still wants to try her best to let the public know the truth. The day of the appeal arrives quickly. This time, Ji-woo no longer covers her ears. She calmly and confidently walks into the courtroom. Because the judge believed her previous testimony, Soon-ho's boss, Mr. Han, goes straight to the point. He takes out a book about autism in court, arguing that Ji-woo cannot express herself and cannot accurately convey her memories. Therefore, Ji-woo is completely unsuitable as a witness for this particular trial. Mr. Han's insulting and questioning words leave Ji-woo at a loss for words. Fortunately, Soon-ho steps forward in time. Everyone thought he would continue to attack Ji-woo. Unexpectedly, Soon-ho suddenly takes out a handkerchief and asks Ji-woo to answer how many dots are on it. 196. Next, Soon-ho hands the handkerchief to the judge and asks him to verify whether Ji-woo's answer is correct. And to not waste time during the trial, Soon-ho asks the judicial police officer at the door to read his personal information quietly because he will ask Ji-woo to repeat it later. Soon-ho asks the police officer, "Is that correct?" The police officer answers, "Completely accurate." Ji-woo's answer amazes everyone. Immediately after, Soon-ho presents a research report explaining that although Ji-woo suffers from severe autism, God has given her an outstanding talent. These research reports can prove it. At this time, Mr. Han, even though he realizes that the situation is not good, Soon-ho has no intention of stopping because next, Ji-woo will use her keen hearing to recreate the whole truth of the murder. If you can see the number of dots on the handkerchief at a glance, then on the day of the murder, you must have heard what the defendant said, right? I remember. How many words did she say during the incident? 52 words. Then let's see if the answer is correct. Witness, please repeat each word that the defendant said. Someone on the other side will record the number of words for you. Later, we will compare to see if the number of words matches. Why don't you cooperate? Only if you die can your son and my child survive. Just die quietly. You have money to donate, so it would be better to give it to me. Why don't you die, you stubborn old fool? You're finally dead. It's so pathetic, so pathetic. You're really healthy. Hearing this, Man-ho feels uneasy and tries to stop her immediately, but the prosecutor behind him quickly blocks him. After comparing notes, the court staff confirms that the number of words matches what Ji-woo said. Seeing Soon-ho violate the rules of a lawyer, Mr. Han is so angry that he can't sit still anymore. You're a defense lawyer? Are you awake? Lawyers are human too, we should have humanity. Faced with this career-ending move, Soon-ho firmly sticks to his position. Seeing that he can't stop Soon-ho from stabbing him in the back, Mr. Han angrily rushes to threaten the judge, but the result is, of course, that he is taken out by the judicial police. Then Soon-ho walks up to Miran, hoping that she will immediately admit to the crime. He will definitely help her plead for a reduced sentence. Under tremendous pressure, Miran slowly turns her head towards Man-ho. When the name of the mastermind behind the crime is revealed, the director is arrested by the police in court. With the truth finally exposed, Soon-ho sincerely expresses his gratitude to Ji-woo. In the final scene, Soon-ho attends Ji-woo's birthday party. Ji-woo reveals to Soon-ho that she has gone to a special school. Although the people there are very strange, she likes it because she doesn't have to pretend to be normal anymore. Knowing that Ji-woo's life is back on track, Soon-ho gives her a gift. Then he tells Ji-woo that he probably won't have much time to play puzzle games with her in the future. After saying that, he immediately gets up and prepares to leave. At this time, Ji-woo hesitates, wanting to say something, but stops, not good at speaking. She doesn't know how to say thank you. Fortunately, she looks at her phone at this time. Hello, Ji-woo, what's wrong? I called because it's 5 o'clock. Mr. Soon-ho is a good person. Ji-woo, I'm trying. I really have to go now. Goodbye. The movie ends here. Remember to like and subscribe to support me. Love and cherish everyone. Thank you for your patience in watching.